get Katie and Ed to understand the concept of under-promising so I could over-deliver when they would introduce me. And so, boy, I tell you, the first 4 or 5 years, I was under a lot of pressure. But as Katie said, my name is Dr. Kirk Keener. I'm from over in Alabama, as you can probably hear. I have been, since 1987, on 11 different diets. Lost 100 pounds 3 different times, gained it all back. Lost 50 pounds 6 times, gained it all back. In the midst of doing stuff like powerlifting, I was nationally ranked in triathlons, and then I've coached also elite level athletes since 1996 in health and wellness, diet, and so forth. And so, yeah, I've got just a little bit of experience when it comes to body transformation, weight loss, dieting, and all that kind of stuff. And as Katie just said, I kind of got tickled. I was chuckling back there with Ed. She said, we got a big speaker tonight. And I kind of looked down on it. Thanks a lot, because this here, in case some of you, if you recognize, this is Drew Manning. Drew is nationally known for his Fit to Fat to Fit program. He's had TV shows, got several books. That's the deal there. Back in August, I flew out to Park City, Utah, to a mastermind group of 20 different people across the nation who had vast experience in this and what we're talking about and doing what we're talking about. And I got home, and a week later, Drew calls me and says, hey, man, I need you. And I said, okay, what you need? Because we talked a lot when I was there and swapped some notes and all that kind of stuff. And he said, well, I'm doing a project of 30 professionals, and I need you, if you will, to participate in that as a physician or chiropractor or whatever and everything. And he said, and I'm still kind of not really catching what he was saying. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. By then I'm asking questions. Who else is on board? He said, well, I've got attorneys, I've got real estate agents, got nurses, this, that, He named all these different people. And I said, well, what do you need from me? And he said, can you at least put on 50? And even then I'm going, I'm sitting there with the phone literally up in my ear going, what's he talking about? And then it hit me. And so he was asking me, could I put on at least 50 pounds? And same thing, do the whole fit to fat to fit transition. And this is actually the 4th time I've done this. Let's go over some quick statistics. 2 out of 3 Americans are overweight or obese. Okay? And it's estimated that 68% of everyone right now in the United States is overweight or obese. On a yearly basis, back in 2009, which I have a slide showing out of the Journal of the American Medical Association, the average that was spent by Medicare, Medicaid, and third parties addressing overweight issues was $149 billion. That was in 2009. Since then, now it's toppled 400 billion with a B. Okay, so for years, in spite of or whatever, however you want to phrase it, with the Affordable Health Care Act, obviously the number did not go down, and I've always said that was the number one thing facing America in terms of any kind of financial issues and stuff like that, was surely the amount of money that the government was putting toward healthcare related issues, and over 2/3 of that was obesity and overweight issues. Okay, so in 2000, also in 9, there was major studies that came out by the National Institutes of Health that linked obesity directly linked it to 7 different types of cancers, being that if you were overweight or obese, that you were in the top 2 tier markers for developing 7 different types of cancers. And so the overweight and obesity epidemic is absolutely real, okay? Not just real in us seeing it in our belt lines and so forth, but real in the sense that it is causing a tremendous amount of expense, okay, like I said, by Medicare, Medicaid, and third-party providers, but also it is among one of the top 4 death rates in the United States, okay? And actually heart disease, cancer, and then you got iatrogenics, which is any kind of death by medical procedure, whether it's a drug interaction or someone dies on an operating table or whatever. That's actually the third, believe it or not. Or cardiovascular diseases outside of heart attacks, which is like stroke and stuff like that. Those are the top 4, and then diabetes is right there, okay? And so metabolic syndrome encompasses all of those. And so, yes, being overweight or being obese has a direct effect in every aspect of our lives these days, okay? Not just monetarily, but also from how we live every day with our clothes and you know, I have people that have told me, you know, in terms of choosing bedding and all that kind of stuff, you know, that they have to spend more money because they have to buy a larger bed and so forth, and it's all got to do with weight, okay? And so those are some of the things that we can absolutely directly affect on our own. Now, back in 1905, the average North American ingested 5 pounds of sugar on an annual basis, okay? 5 pounds over the course of a year. That was back in 1905. Has anybody got an idea or guess what it is today? 50? Anybody else?
200.
There's no, what?
Over 200.
Over 200? Anybody else guess? Same 5 pounds? It's actually 150 to 200 pounds. Now, it might not be that white granulated sugar that we all think about, but there is absolutely hardly anything these days that you purchase that does not have high fructose corn syrup in it or a sugar additive, okay? And so, whereas back in 1905, regardless of how we got that sugar and what type of sugar it was, you know, 5+ pounds. Today, it's 150 to 200 pounds, okay? So, I've always asked the question, do you honestly think that our Creator designed us to be able to handle that kind of a sugar load through our vital organs? I don't think so. But miraculously, when it says that we are wonderfully and fearfully made, I think we're pushing that envelope to the limits. And I think that I can back that up by looking again at the death rates, okay? And where we're falling and how that shows up and how it falls. And so, absolutely, are we doing it, so to speak? You know, so are we doing it? Sure, we're doing it. But we're not doing it well, okay? Because it quickly leads to cardiovascular disease, cancer-type situations, diabetes. And those are the things that are ultimately we're perishing with, okay? So that intense increase in sugar, there we go, is unreal. So there's the 147 billion I was talking about. This right here just says that metabolic syndrome is classified 53% of the time. It involves, there we go. I need to explain to you this one first. These are the 4 hallmark symptoms of metabolic syndrome. Okay, you got central abdominal obesity, you've got high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and diabetes. If you've got any 2 of those 4, you're actually considered a metabolic syndrome patient. If you've got 3 out of the 4, you've got a special marker on your folder or in the EHR, the electronic health records, like in my office, that says at risk. Now you may say, at risk of what? Well, we just talked about them: heart attack, stroke, cancer, that kind of stuff. If you've got all 4, and I'm careful about and I'm not speaking this on anybody, I'm just stating facts. It's not a matter of if, but when. Okay? Something is imminent if you've got all 4. So if you have all 4, you are absolutely in the right place tonight. Okay? To be able to, starting by tomorrow morning, if not tomorrow morning, within the next several days, get in with one of these coaches, sitting down with them, filling out the health profile, and getting started and taking back control of your health, okay? I was telling Ed before I came in about the thing I was doing with Drew, and he said, well, dang, you don't really look that bad and everything. I said, well, I started the program last Monday, and I said, I've already dropped 11 pounds the first week. And it happens that way every time. Now, granted, yes, I was starting from 267 and that kind of stuff, but equivocally, or I guess you'd say proportionately, men and women lose the same. Okay, I know women all the time, my husband can, just think about going on a diet and lose 4 pounds, and I drink water and gain 6. Trust me, if you're a 160 or 180 pound female and you lose 4.5 pounds, and you got a male that's 240 or 50 and they lose 7 or 8, the proportion is the same amount of weight. Okay, so muscle mass is the only key player there. So now, those are the 4 hallmark symptoms of metabolic syndrome. So, well, I'll tell you what, we were just having a, Katie? I don't know. Tell you what, I'm just going to stop this. We're going to have prayer service here in a minute. Oh, there we go. Because I tell you, he is at work tonight. All right. So now, this is what I was talking about. 53% of the time, one of those 2 factors of metabolic syndrome is going to be central abdominal obesity. Okay? 39% of the time, we're talking about diabetes, blood sugar issues. 40% of the time, almost exactly the same as diabetes, we're talking about hypertension and cardiovascular issues. And then the lipids and everything round out the other 25 to 31%. Now, I know there's probably some type A's here going, okay, now wait a minute. That doesn't add up to be 100. Okay, right there, those numbers. I know that's at any given time, 53% of people with metabolic syndrome is going to have central abdominal obesity. But what that also means is this: 47% of the time, central abdominal obesity may not even be in the equation. Remember those nurses I was telling you about? The heaviest one was 147. You'd look at this lady and go, okay, I'm going to rip your arm off. We can beat you with it if you think you need to lose weight. Okay? I mean, it blew my mind when all of them came in. But at any rate, so yeah, 47% of the time, it may not have anything to do with people carrying a lot of weight around their waist or anything. But then that's the way the others break down there. Now, what is the culprit for all of this? The culprit is sugar, plain and simple. That's why I just talked to you about sugar and how much we consumed 100 years ago versus basically now, okay? 4 grams of carbohydrates equals 1 teaspoon of sugar. So you may wonder, how in the world, are you crazy? How do we get to 150 to 200 pounds a year consuming? Well, because of the sheer number of carbohydrates we're consuming. 4 grams of carbohydrates equals 1 teaspoon of sugar. So, if you go to any of the, let's see, fast food establishments, I'm not going to pick on any of them. I've got menus for just about all of them right here in my bag. Let's say you go to Subway, okay? Subway breaks everything down, and here's their little chart, right? This thing right here that tells you how many grams of everything is in everything that they have, okay? Well, first of all they give you the rating for is a 6-inch. So you have to be able to go, okay, what's twice of that, okay? So the 6-inch piece of bread that they have is the flat bread that has the lowest amount of carbohydrates, okay? And there's 42. So there's 10, am I right? 10 teaspoons of sugar in just that one right there. Here it is. Now what do you want on it? That you're already starting at 42 grams right there, okay, of carbohydrates. That's not any meat, vegetables, or anything else on it. McDonald's, just, their staple items. Quarter pounder, okay? 44 grams of carbohydrates. The Big Mac, 42 grams of carbohydrates. And that sandwich. They've got a premium side salad here with grilled chicken, 22 grams of carbohydrates. You're like, what, on a side salad? Or a premium salad with chicken, grilled chicken? Yeah. Okay, 2 teaspoons of sugar right there. So the sugar consumption is absolutely out of control, and that's the culprit for the weight gain. Okay? And please, I know some of you probably sitting there doing like I did many years ago, thinking, I don't eat any of those greasy burger places. If and when we go out, we go to Chick-fil-A. The Chick-fil-A sandwich has 46 grams of carbohydrates. And of all the sandwiches, the Whopper, the Big Mac, and all that, has the most amount of sodium. Bad salt. Okay, it's not sea salt. All right, it's preservative sodium. Okay, so please don't get caught in that trap either. Let's move on forward here. What this metabolic syndrome is doing is it's causing this modern day epidemic. Okay, and when I say that, it says what we're headed toward is this right here. The current generation of children may have a shorter lifespan than their parents. A third of the U.S. children are expected to develop diabetes. And on average, 1 in 4 Americans aged 17 to 24 are unfit for military service due to the weight, due to the obesity. I know when I went through boot camp, there was like 4 guys out of 600 that got sent over to Fat Boy Camp for a few weeks. Now they're saying it'd be 1 in 4. And I totally believe them. Totally believe them. 1/3 of U.S. children develop diabetes. When I was practicing in Florida, I had a kid to come in that was 11 years old, and he had already been prescribed Lipitor. 11 years old. Okay? He was about this tall and weighed 194 pounds. And that wasn't the largest one I ever had. But anyways, that's the kind of things we're facing now. And when it says this current generation of children, most everybody's thinking about that right there. You're thinking about a young child, maybe even your grandchild or something like that. Again, when I was practicing in Florida up until 2011, before I came back up north to Alabama, I had more patients in my office who died of different things aged 25 to 55 than I did 70 and older. Now, I've got my own little personal theory about that, and I think it's because of how those 70 and older folks were able to eat for a longer period of time than the 25 to 55-year-olds today. Back then, those folks basically ate what they grew out of their own yard, that kind of stuff, their own garden. Whereas there's kids today, I say kids, I'm 50, so yeah, there's kids that are 25 today, I bet you couldn't even identify what a cucumber is or a sweet potato or anything else. They just, they just go order food and don't have a clue what it looks like in its organic state. Okay, so that's just my little personal theory. But anyway, we're not talking just about this age, okay? We're talking about anybody 50 and younger is most likely, unless something like functional medicine, epigenetics, regenerative medicine, stem cells, all that kind of stuff. And boy, unless that's really embraced, which is showing absolutely huge promise, yeah, this current generation, my generation and under, be lucky to make it to 72, 73, simply because of all the heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and so forth. Okay. Now, so what and how do we store fat, or why and how do we store fat in the body? Well, we've got bad eating habits, we've got a dysfunctional pancreas, and we've got a lack of exercise. Now, you can't just invert all of those and say, voila, there's a solution. Okay? You can never out-exercise a bad diet. I'm going to say that again. You can never out-exercise a bad diet. These guys and gals that you see on social media and on stage and all like that, with these picturesque bodies, whether you like it or not, or agree with it or not, or whatever, these people are so extremely rigid with what goes in their body. That's the only possible way they can look like that. All the rest of us see that, get those images locked in our mind, try our version of what we think that would take, and then get frustrated and quit and depressed and even gain more weight because we've seen it. Okay? Understand, you can never out-exercise a bad diet. Now, the dysfunctional pancreas, that's what I was addressing a minute ago. You just have such a bombardment of insulin for so long to where finally it creates that insulin resistant state in the body. And then bad eating habits. That's no secret. I mean, like what we just talked about, we've gone from an instant, right now, fast food generation, to where in the past it was you grow your own food and you eat organically and naturally. Okay, so the culprit for this fat storage, that's the three major things that's leading to fat storage. The culprit for that is insulin. Insulin has two major roles in the body. One, to lower blood sugar, to lower blood sugar levels, and to store calories in the form of fat. Insulin is the master hormone for doing that. Here's one of the nuggets, one of the 3 stars that you can probably, take away tonight, and you've got your money's worth, especially since it was free. But understand this: if you want to do anything in the body, up or down, gaining or losing, all you got to do is control that right there. You want to gain weight, put insulin in the body. Now, I know you may be thinking, well, wait a minute now. What about all these juvenile insulin-dependent diabetics like my father that has to put insulin in just, to keep them, they're that big around. What do you mean put insulin in the body? Well, except for those individuals, okay? Bodybuilders will do this. They'll eat a 3,000 or 4,000 calorie meal. 90 minutes later, they're not even diabetics. 90 minutes later, they're hitting a shot of insulin. Why? So it drives their blood sugar levels down so they can turn around and eat another 3,500 calories 30 minutes later. So why? So they can pack on calories and build up, bulk up. It requires that. The opposite of that's also true. You stabilize and reduce insulin down to a crawl, and you'll lose everything you ever wanted to and then forget you even lost something. Okay? It is that powerful. I had a gentleman over in Florence, Alabama, 77-year-old man. I've got his paperwork, blood work right here in my bag. If somebody wanted to see it. He had fatty liver. Wasn't a drinker, nothing like that. Just had fatty liver. His alkaline phosphatase levels were always sky high, which generally means anything over 110. Well, his was always cruising about 190 and 210. And he's checking it every 4 months, just like clockwork. Did this program for 1 month, lost 15 pounds. He started out, he was 153, came down to 138. Kind of smaller man, didn't really need to lose any weight, but when he did, it didn't look like he was, one of those death camp survivors I talked about. But the very next ALK-Phos test he had was 101. And the thing about it is, to my knowledge, as of a year ago, it was still the same. And the gentleman was still alive. Now he's 84, because that was 7 years ago when he first started, when he first did it, okay? 2011. So it doesn't matter if it's fatty liver. When we're talking about fat, if you want to lose it, shred it, get rid of it, that right there is how you do it, okay? Control insulin. And that's what this program does without you having to count any calories. The hardest thing you may have to do is measure some food. Geez, okay? Measure some food every now and then. All right, so here's a slide that I want you to totally understand. This is huge, and this is one of the things that on social media that all these keto posts are ruining, or they don't tell you, okay? Your body has 3 forms of fuel, 3 sources that it can get fuel from. Fuel being ATP molecules through the Krebs cycle, and see, that's almost safe. So that's 5th grade biochemistry right there, okay? But that's how your body generates energy molecules. And you can actually get up and walk around instead of not being able to get up and walk around and feel like death warmed over. And yeah, there is a happy medium in there somewhere too. But this is the 3 sources of fuel in the body. You've got glucose, you've got muscle, and you've got fats. The good Lord created us as glucose creatures. Glucose beings. Period. Meaning that is the first thing that your body will always, that's the default button. It's like the reset button on a computer or whatever. That is what your body will go to first and foremost every single time at any given moment, 24/7, 365, when it's looking to generate some energy. it goes to the glucose in your body. Okay, is everybody clear on that? So, Dr. Reeves said that these 4 hallmark symptoms of Syndrome X seemingly unrelated because even today, believe it or not, we're throwing pills at this, we're throwing pills at this, at that. Not a whole lot's being done about the central abdominal obesity, but all these other things, we're just trying to medicate into oblivion or medicate into balance. And boy, how successful are we at that? Not very successful, okay? And so he said, wait a minute, these things actually all share a common cause. And that common cause is something called hyperinsulinemia. Hyper just means a lot of, okay? High blood pressure is hypertension, okay? So an increase. Hyperinsulinemia. So what in the world is insulinemia? Well, insulinemia is the existence of insulin in your blood sugar at any given time. So hyperinsulinemia means you've got an increased level of insulin floating around in your blood at all times. Okay? So he said that along with, coupled with insulin resistance is the common cause. I know you may be sitting there going, well, no, wait a minute. How in the world can you have hyperinsulinemia and insulin resistance at the same time? The wonderful world of biochemistry. Okay? And that is a huge deal when you start talking about a program like this. Basically what that means, insulin resistance is like if this was a cell in your body and around this cell was all type of receptor sites for other things to hook into, like enzymes and protein and hormones and that kind of stuff. Well, insulin is a binding hormone, so it would connect to the cell, but it would never permeate, it would never go through the cell membrane and get into the middle of the cell so that your blood sugar would become regulated. Okay, so that's insulin resistance. That's why you have metformin, Humalog, and all these other synthetic types of insulin, because they will permeate through the cell membrane, whereas the insulin your body's producing won't. Okay, so that's why your blood sugar is sky high at all times, and you have to add those synthetics. Okay, if you weren't insulin resistant, then your body, trust me, the reason probably 99% of us is here tonight and dealing anything with weight is because your body is producing insulin like a champ. Okay? And I'll explain how I know that here in just a second, or how you can know that. But insulin resistance is where the insulin molecule binds to the cell, doesn't cross the cell membrane, and now the cell is sitting here going, hello, we need some insulin. And it's telling the brain, we don't have any insulin, we need some insulin. And the brain goes, well, okay. And so it just starts churning out insulin. So that's the hyperinsulinemia coupled with insulin resistance. Okay? The cell is very black and white. It doesn't know that it's bound to it and it just can't permeate. It just knows that there's none in the middle. Okay? That red circle right there is saying, and that's a warning sign. No insulin, no insulin. And that's what it sends to the brain. So the brain produces, or it has the pancreas to produce more insulin to try to get into the cell. But that's not the problem. The problem is, okay, the insulin resistance. So, Dr. Reeves said, if you can deal with both of these, if you can address those two issues, you can change all 4 of these, guess what? Simultaneously. I've had folks, I hadn't checked in like a year and a half or so, but, company hadn't sent me information or nobody else has. And I don't say this braggadocious or pat myself on the back or anything like that. I'm just trying to get across to you guys that I've got just a little bit of experience in this field. But as far as I know, especially when it comes to ideal protein, I've got more people that's lost over 100 pounds than anybody in the world. Okay, with this program. Like I said, the last time I tallied, it was like 700 and something. Okay, that's lost over 100 pounds in less than a year. I've got last time I checked, it was 34 or 35 that lost 200 in less than a year. Okay, so yes, it is powerful and it works. But the reason it works is because it addresses these physiological biochemistry situations with your body's own natural chemistry. here's the ideal protein weight loss method. This is what we were just talking about, that balanced diet. That's considered anywhere from 22 to 2,400 calories, okay? And they assume, and this is a huge assumption, and that old cliche about you know what you do when you assume. They assume that right there, that word says vitamins and minerals. I know it's kind of distorted on here and everything, but it says vitamins. So they assume that just by eating a balanced diet with 22 to 2,400 calories, that you're also getting all the vitamins and minerals that you need in your diet. Ed wouldn't have it stored up there if that was true. So that's first off, that's one of the biggest crops you've ever heard or seen right there. Mainly because why? You can get 22 to 2,400 calories a lot of different ways. And what is perfectly balanced? We've never even defined that yet. We just throw that B word out there, balance, all the time, and it basically doesn't mean anything to any of us except for, again, frustration, depression, and more weight gain. So, like I said, huge assumption. But anyway, what we want to look at right here is the macronutrient breakdown. Right here, it comes down to right there, and there's a solid line right there. This says carbs, okay? Then you got that solid line, then you got another solid line right there. Well, in there says fat. Well, down here says protein in this box, okay? So that's what the balanced diet regimen looks like. It's about 65 to 70% carbs, 25% protein, and about 15% fat. That's supposedly a balanced diet. Now, these hypocaloric diets, the low-calorie diets, the Craigs, the systems that you're getting bombarded with on TV right now, Marie and everybody else, Dan Marino and all, all those diets, what they do, and the creators of those programs were genius. I mean, I can't believe I didn't think of this. What they did is they took a standard balanced diet of 22 to 2,400 calories and they just cut it in half. 12 to 1,400 calories, slid everything sideways. They took this whole macronutrient breakdown and just went, slid it sideways, cut the calories in half. That'll get some weight off people. And they're right. It does. But we go back to that question of what kind of weight did it get off? Okay? Everybody I've ever known, and I said this for years, and I was hoping somebody would tweet it or share it or something like this. I put a challenge out there and I said, that with a body composition analysis scanner, a medical grade one, not just, not the one at $19 at Walmart you step on and make sure your feet soaking wet and all that kind of stuff. But with a body composition analysis scanner, I said that I would wage my salary if I could scan Jennifer Hudson, who did Weight Watchers and lost supposedly 70 pounds or whatever like that, and that if her BCA, her body composition analysis, still fell under the obese or overweight range. Because I know what kind of weight you lose on these programs right here. And it's just as much muscle as it is fat. Okay, those folks are always maybe slimmer, but they're still puffy. Okay, because their body's retaining water because it's losing fat and muscle. Okay, so yes, you can lose weight on those programs. I did Nutrisystem like 2 months or so before I got married 29 years ago and lost, it was right at 30 pounds. And that was in May, went on a honeymoon, and by September the 1st, I was already 45 pounds heavier than I was before I started that diet. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I ate the cardboard hamburgers and what they call it. Oh, my gosh. But anyway, it hadn't changed, believe it or not. I had some patients bring the food in. Oh, it's not changed. All right. So that's those low-calorie diets. They just cut the calories in half, slide the macronutrient, meaning you're still getting 65% carbohydrates, okay? 25% protein, 10-15% fat in those programs. Now, with Ideal Protein, and this is an old slide, don't choke or croak, you're going to get anywhere from 9 to 1,200 calories on a daily basis. And when you look across at it, the macronutrient right here is going to be 65 or 75% protein, about 20% fat, and 10 to 12% carbohydrate. Now, I know you're sitting there thinking, oh, I thought you said this wasn't a high-protein diet. Well, okay, let's look at this box right here. See that box right there? Now that's a balanced diet, and that's their protein box. If you look all the way across, it's essentially the exact same size as that one right there. So it's not high protein. It just means that 65 to 70% of those 9 to 1,200 calories you're putting in your body is going to be protein-based foods. Okay? And that's for one reason only, and that's to exhaust that glucose and to keep insulin at a standstill. Only reason. Now, here's some good news to follow this. Oh, I was going to say, where's that other slide, Kate? All right. On average, and we just, again, under promise, over deliver right here. It says a woman loses 2 to 3 pounds per week on the program. Let's say if anybody, not just a woman, but if anybody went on this program, lost 2 to 3 pounds a week, 1 pound of fat has 4,000 kilocalories in it. You can drop calories. Has 4,000 calories. So 2.5, if you just split the difference right there and send, 2 to 3, all right, let's say 2.5. So 2.5 pounds of fat times 4 is going to be 10,000. Okay, so that's 1 week per week. All right. So you went on Ideal Protein like I did last Monday. First week back on the program. I followed it exactly like you guys would or will. And I lost 11 pounds. But it's saying if you lose 2.5 pounds times the calories, that equals 10,000 calories. 10,000 divided by 7 days equals 1,430. Now what I'm talking about there is this. This is the amount of calories your body is also receiving or burning just from being in ketosis. Okay? Because you're breaking down stuff in the body, so it's got to go and be utilized for something somewhere. So that's saying that if you get on a daily basis, if you're getting 1,000 calories from the diet, from the 4 cups of vegetables, unlimited salad, and up to half a pound of meat that you need every day, that you can eat, that you have to eat. By the way, that's the hardest thing of this entire program. Is people think you're going to starve with 1,200 calories, and that is the number one thing my patients come in and go, I can't eat all this. And I'm like, what? What do you mean you can't eat all this? It's 4 cups of vegetables, unlimited salad, and up to half a pound of meat. Foods, and they're dense, nutritionally dense like they should be, then yeah, you get full quick. But if you're eating 1,000 calories from the diet and your body is giving you another 1,430 every day from all the fat that's being broken down, that's just like you're getting 2,430 calories per day instead of that 1,200. So that's why I said, hold your hats. Don't nobody croak on me because you saw that and it said 850 to 1,000 calories. Holy cow. Okay? That's because 1,000 from the diet with what you're breaking down through ketosis, your body is happy. Okay? There's no problems whatsoever. You're not starving. You're not ready to rip somebody's arm off, eat it, and then beat them with the bones left over. You're not fatigued. You're sleeping good. All that kind of stuff. Okay, I know it almost sounds like the nirvana of all diets, and that's as close as I've ever found. It's literally plug and play. All right. Yes, sir. Ma'am, sir. Yeah.
If you go back to that slide there, if you lose a woman loses 2 to 3 pounds,
Yep.
a week, and she eats
1,000 calories.
1,000 calories per day. And that actually looks like she's going to be eating 2,400 calories per day, her body.
Exactly. Yeah, there's only going to be 1,000 going in the mouth, but available to the body and its normal functional processes through the day, it's going to be functioning off of 2,430.
That's why it looks like because it's burning the fat.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
That's how you actually function on this program for as long as you need to. I had 2 people this week come in my office and say that they had done keto. One said 6 months, another girl said 8 months, and both of them said, I had to stop because I thought I was going to die. And I said, what are you talking about? Oh gosh, it took me literally less than 5 minutes with both of them. And they weren't together, it was 2 separate accounts. Less than 5 minutes with both of them, and I nailed like 5 different things both of them were not doing that created those feelings. They said, oh man, the first 3-4 months I felt great, did this, and everything. But neither one of them was supplementing anything. Remember I said assuming, big time, assuming that you're getting all the vitamins and minerals. Well, look over here. With the low-calorie diets, if they thought you were getting all that you needed with 2,200 calories, and then they cut it in half, well, what are you doing now if you're not supplementing? You better believe it. You're definitely behind the 8 ball now. But Ideal Protein and the coaches let you know all this and everything. We supplement you vitamins because if you're not eating bread and potatoes and rice and pasta, believe it or not, in the foods that we ask you to hold off of forever, how long it takes you to lose the weight, we're going to make sure that you get everything you need from those foods with supplements. And you're not going to walk out with a whole case of supplements like 4 bottles, or 5. Okay, 4, yeah. 4, and then there's there's branched chain amino acids that are sort of, optional, so to speak. Okay, so yeah, it's a fish oil. It's a calcium, magnesium, potassium, and then the branched chain aminos if you want them. But anyway, the branched chain aminos help you protect lean mass, so I'd kind of like do those. So that's it right there. Now, why protein? Well, like we said, it's to prevent the muscle loss. Protein equals vitality. Everything in the human body requires protein. Now, this is next to last. Oh, nope. Let me jump right here first because this is huge. Okay, here's the second star if you want to make it, or the third one about needing to understand something here. Getting back to insulin right here. Anytime you have carbohydrates that you combined in the same meal with fats, and the carbohydrates I'm mainly speaking of is those starchy carbohydrates. It's not your broccoli, cauliflower, zucchini, asparagus, peppers, tomatoes, onion, all that kind of stuff. It's the rice, beans, potatoes, pasta, and everything. You combine that with a fat in the presence of insulin, and please understand this, unless you are one of those type 1 juvenile insulin-dependent diabetics, your body has no problem producing insulin. That's why your glucose levels are 300 something, okay? Your body has no problem producing insulin. If you're not one of those people that's been wearing a pump for years because they told you your pancreas was only functioning at 6%, please trust me when I say this, your body has no problem producing insulin. So this is a given. That is always in your body at any given time. But through a program like this, you can control how much is in there, but it's always there. So when you eat a carbohydrate and a fat combined together and insulin is there, which it always is, you just created, guess what? A triglyceride. That's how you manufacture triglycerides. Triglycerides is actually what's stored in the fat cells and causes you to swell or get larger. I mean, it's fat cells, but yes, it's what's in the fat cell that's causing you to have to undo your belt and get bigger clothes and all like that. Is right there. And this right here is how you manufacture them. Okay? Now, let me say this. A triglyceride is 1 molecule of glycerol, GLU. Anytime you hear GLU, that's sugar. So it's 1 molecule of sugar and 3 fatty acids. When you break this down, when you release a triglyceride out of the fat cell while in ketosis, that molecule of sugar goes straight to the brain. Your brain does a happy dance. And it says, thank you. And it loves it. Okay? Those 3 fatty acids become something called ketones. That's why they call this a keto diet. Ketones are the richest molecule source of energy possibly available to us in the body. But the only problem is we don't live we're not designed to live in ketosis at all times. It's perfectly fine to be in, and even for extended periods of time. John Hopkins University has done studies on epileptic children, ages 9 to 17, and had them on a ketogenic diet for years with no side effects whatsoever. I take that back. The only side effect is it literally wiped out all seizures. And I've got a kid in my office right now he's got mitochondrial disease, a mitochondrial-based disease, and he has horrendous seizures. And I mean, his parents went everywhere from Atlanta to Birmingham to Boston and everywhere in between. And the last trip to Boston, guess what one of their top 3 suggestions was? Try a ketogenic diet. And his mom has already been on it with me, lost 50 pounds, gained it all back because of the stress of trying to raise a special needs child. It's not that she didn't have willpower. It's not that I'm going, she lost it and gained it all back. There's stress is huge as well. Okay, we all admit that or know that. But this right here, when that fat cell is opened up, what comes out is that triglyceride, and that's what your body breaks down and utilizes. Those are ketones. That's a molecule of sugar. Okay, that's important you understand that. You may say, well, give me some examples. What is that right there? Well, fettuccine Alfredo. Okay, potato, cheese, butter, sour cream, bacon bits, Boston butt, that loaded baked potato. Doesn't mean that you can't ever eat those things again. It just means that once you finally get all this weight off, don't go right back to that old eating style 4 out of 5 or 7 nights a week. Okay? It's okay. I've kept every bit of the weight off I've kept off, and I've eaten anything I wanted to eat. From ice cream to fettuccine Alfredo type food, you name it. There's just a couple of key little things you do when you do those things, when you eat those things. And that's for much later down the road, but it's not jumping through hoops. Trust me, okay? Wonder Bread, peanut butter. The #1 lunch across the nation these days, peanut butter and jelly sandwich for kids, and apple slices and a yogurt, and they just got 70 grams of carbohydrates. At 9 years old, we wonder why they're bouncing off the ceiling and they're getting fat as all get out. Okay? So those are the type meals or type situations. I mean, here's the little snag. Everybody likes a snack at night. Well, crackers and cheese. Even if it is hoop cheese, I don't care if it's red rind or black rind. I like them both, but you can't do that just night after night after night after night. Okay? But those are the type things in the presence of insulin that creates that right there. You go out to any restaurant. I mean, it's gotten terrible to where you go out, especially in the box stores, whether it's the Longhorns or Outbacks or this, that, and everything. Every doggone steak they serve these days, they want to put some kind of sauce on it and mango this and that and cream and that. And I'm like, just bring me a piece of meat, cooked good, cooked right. I mean, I need some sea salt and pepper, and that's it. Okay. But that's where you also get into trouble there. And then, of course, all the loaded baked potatoes and all the yeast rolls with the butter, and the Italian places bring you that doggone good bread that you can't hardly chew. It breaks a tooth. But, boy, when you dip it in that oil, it tastes so good. But that's it right there. Okay? And so that's just talking about the macronutrients, carbs, fats, and proteins. You got simple carbs and complex carbs. Simple carbs are those that turn to sugar real simply. The candy cakes, fruit. Complex carbs is some of your starches, depending on what it is. Your cereals and legumes. Legumes being beans, those are complex. And then you got fat, which is plant-based fats and animal-based fats. Your plant-based fats is your oils, olive oil, corn oil, margarines. Your animal-based fats is your meat, fish, egg, and dairy. And then you got protein, animal-based and plant-based. Plant-based proteins is also your granola, your cereals, and your legumes. And then animal-based protein, again, is your meat, fish, egg, and dairy. Now, if you follow the green arrow right here, you'll see that fats, the animal-based fats, share a common denominator with the animal-based proteins, and that is meat, fish, egg, and dairy. And then if you follow the blue arrow, you've got complex carbohydrates with the cereals and legumes, and then you look down here with the protein, plant-based proteins, you've got cereals and legumes. So there's a common denominator between carbohydrates and protein. But where there's not a common denominator is right there, between carbs and fats, specifically the simple carbs and any of the fats. That's why you get that right there. Okay? So one thing you can do, and this program will help you along the course of the way, is learn, be a student of when you finally get rid of, in 2 weeks, that 26 pounds you need to lose. Become a student of learning how to create meals separating those two right there. And it is, once you just get in the habit of it, it's all about habit. Once you get in the habit of doing it, it's easy, it's simple. Okay? But if you just grab a menu and let somebody else do it for you, it's never going to happen. Okay? So be a student on learning how to create meals that separate carbs and fats. Okay. That just talks about the molecule of glycerol and 3 fatty acids. Okay, now, next to last slide, and we're done for questions. So why ideal protein foods? You ladies about ready to serve back there? All right. Why ideal protein foods? Well, you've got cost that you can't see, fat content, and calories. And this is what I'm talking about. If you take a 5-ounce filet, 5-ounce filet mignon, it's approximately 200 calories, 35 grams of protein, and your body's going to absorb 70% of that filet, giving you a total protein intake of 24 grams. Now, right off the bat, when I first saw this slide, I went, I know I'm just a country boy from Alabama, but I see something wrong already. I'm paying for 35 grams, and my body's only utilizing 24. Didn't take me long to realize that, some eggs was missing in the basket right there. So, you look over here, ideal protein food. Approximately 100 calories. Is it 100 calories? Yeah, 100 calories. 20 grams of protein per food. Might give or take 2 or 3 grams. But your body's going to absorb at least 95% because I said earlier when our computers and the devil was in the electronics that it was highly bioavailable, pre-digested, highly assimilated protein that you was getting. That's why I call it ideal protein, okay? So your body's going to absorb 95% of this versus only 70% of the whole food type protein, whether it's a filet or chicken or fish or what it is, giving you a total intake of 19 grams. Now, I like that math right there a lot better. Okay, I'm paying for 20, my body's utilizing 19. Well, what happens right here in these 11 grams? It's called RNA and DNA. Every living creature on earth has DNA and RNA. Our bodies cannot process animal RNA. It kicks it out and it becomes an expensive bowel movement right there. Okay? That's where it goes. So, you're paying for this, you're only getting this, you're paying for this, you're getting that. Okay? So ideal protein foods are the best way to supplement your diet with protein and stay in control with cost, fat content, and calories, all three, which are absolutely important, particularly the fat content and the calories. This program never requires you to count a fat gram, to count a calorie. All you have to do is just trust, so to speak, in the way it's designed, the protocol that's designed for you, even the amounts. Unless you're a male weighing over 200 pounds and within the last probably 10 to 12 years you've done something like played professional ball or college ball or something. In other words, unless you've had a lot of muscle mass on you and everything is done what it does prototypically with most all males, it shifts from here to down here, then you may have to add a little bit of protein. Okay? But otherwise, if you're a 245 or 50 pound male and you've done as much as I did in terms of hitting licks at snakes, for the last 25 years, you don't have that much lean mass on your body. So you can do the standard regular protocol, okay? You don't have to add extra protein or anything like that. But that right there is this program in a nutshell. And I apologize about the computer issues tonight. I had a few little slides that were kind of humorous and funny and all like that, but we'll get those some other day. Basically, one of those slides was this. It was an x-ray of an individual that weighed over 400 pounds. Stop using the excuse that you're big boned. There's no such thing. Okay? Unless you have Marfan syndrome or something like that, there's no such thing as, well, I'm just big boned. No, your bones are the same size as somebody else, your same height and everything. Doesn't matter how big or how wide you get, okay? So it's an x-ray showing that, and then the other one was just a little funny slide. So, all right. Anybody got any questions for me? Yes?